Hello, my name is Bellamy. I'm from South Africa. First of all, I just want to thank the World Open Water Swimming Association for this amazing opportunity to address you all. Sincere apologies that I can't be there today. I'm currently in Barbados about to preparing for a big swim, which I'll talk about a bit later. But apologies, I actually reside in San Francisco, so that makes it a little bit worse, especially since a lot of you have come from quite far, especially the guest speakers. I'm going to be talking to you today about the Ocean 7, in particular about my journey, how I got into swimming and got there, and how I completed the Ocean 7. Then talk a little bit about my perspectives afterwards and what I'm currently doing and my next goal. So according to Wikipedia, the definition of the Ocean 7 is that it's the equivalent of the 7 summits of mountain climbing, and it's made up of the English Channel, the North Channel, the Catalina Channel, the Molokai Channel, the Strait of Gibraltar, the Tsugaru Strait, and the Cook Strait. I was never really a swimmer growing up. I used to row a lot. I used to row my teens and my early 20s, and I rowed for South Africa internationally for a while. And from there, I kind of did a lot of other things, but especially relatively recently, I did a solo cycling trip from Beijing to the southern tip of India. And it was after this trip in 2010 where I decided to form a charity called the Ubunye Challenge, whereby team members would use their athletic endurance endeavors to raise money for early childhood development in South Africa and Zimbabwe. We founded the charity in 2011 with the initial goals that we were going to cycle the length of the United Kingdom, swim the English Channel, and then row across the Indian Ocean. When I first told my dad about these various things, he said, "Are you crazy? You're going to swim the English Channel? You can't even swim." To that I replied, "And I thought you would have been kind of worried about the ocean row. It seems a little bit more dangerous." But he's like, "No, I know you can do that. And I'm worried about you swimming. You never swum before." And he was right. I never really swum. And so in light of his skepticism, I learned to swim and trained a lot in the next 8 months, and eventually had a go at the English Channel, which I just managed to scrape across. However, I really enjoyed most of it. I remember about 14 hours in, I went to the boat to just to say how much I wasn't really enjoying it, and I might need to pull out. And to which my support group were obviously very supportive. My mother was a little bit aggressive. She looked at me and said, "Cameron, you're not getting in this boat until you get to France." To which I replied, "Okay, take it easy." I kept swimming and eventually managed to crawl up onto the beach in France. And that was an amazing thing that I did, and it really changed the rest of my life. From there, about a year later, we ended up rowing across the Indian Ocean, which to then was probably the hardest thing I'd ever done. But now we had kind of fulfilled all of our endurance goals, the 3 that I mentioned. And we also kind of fulfilled all of our goals charity-wise on the ground in South Africa and Zimbabwe. And we were deciding, do we carry on or do we quit while we were ahead? And we decided, myself and the chairman of the charity, we decided to carry on going. And for me, the athletic side of it, I couldn't obviously keep ocean rowing because that trip I had to dedicate about 4 months of my life to that. So my career couldn't handle that much time off again. And so I took to swimming again because I love the English Channel so much. And I'd heard about the Ocean 7 that Steve Manitonis had set up. I thought that's my next goal. And I thoroughly enjoyed the rest of the swims that I did. The first one that I did after the English Channel was the Strait of Gibraltar, where I met my current business partner, which was an amazing experience. But to be honest, the hardest one of those is, I'm sure most people would agree that know the Ocean 7 and have swum some of them or all of them, is that the North Channel is by far the toughest. It's long, it's cold, and it's full of jellyfish. I'm not a big fan of the cold, and I struggle a little bit in the cold, so my whole strategy for doing that swim was just to go out hard and hang on for dear life, which I managed to do. And afterwards, I kind of felt like and looked like I was about 90 years old. I feel like I don't remember the last few hours of it, and I think I almost died. But I'm still here today. And just looking back in comparison, that's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. I rowed across the Indian Ocean in about just under 60 days, rowing 2 hours on, 2 hours off, day and night, through storms, 50, 60 foot waves. And I still think that North Channel swim in comparison was more difficult. I eventually ended and finished the Ocean 7 this year, doing the Tsugaru swim in Japan. Obviously being the last one, I was really nervous for it. And it was kind of a stressful situation because we have, for the Tsugaru channel, you only have 3-day window. And our pilot looked at the weather and he said, I don't think you guys are going to go. He wanted to cancel our window. And so we begged and we begged. And eventually he let us go on the second day of the window. And actually it ended up not being too bad. I swam across the channel in about 11 hours to finally finish the Ocean 7, which I thoroughly enjoyed 6 years after the English Channel swim. And so here I am today, looking back at the Ocean 7 and thinking about what did it do for me and what are my thoughts about it. I think the biggest thing about the Ocean 7 is that before you have the blue ribbon of ocean swimming, open water swimming, the English Channel. And that's the channel everybody aspires to growing up. I thought it was an impossible task when I set out to do it. And I think, of course, the English Channel is always going to be the blue ribbon. But now that once people have completed the English Channel, the Ocean 7 is an amazing way to keep people in the sport of swimming, because those swims are so varied and so amazing, and the locations are so incredible. It's an amazing expedition doing the other 6. The other thing is that, unlike the 7 summits, with Everest being the pinnacle and being a certain height, you can't get much more than that. Whereas with ocean swimming, there's no fixed goal in any swim. You look at the swims done this year by some of the speakers and audience members. Lewis Pugh swam the English Channel east to west. Ross Edgley swam around the whole of the United Kingdom. Ben LeCompte is currently swimming from Japan to San Francisco. There's so many amazing things you can do out there in open water swimming. And I think, and especially in my case, the Ocean 7 has really set me up to kind of set my goals even higher and do some crazy swims. Which leads me to what I'm doing right now. Because I'm currently in Barbados trying to attempt to swim around the island. It's just under 100 kilometers. And as you can imagine, with a complicated island swim like this, in Barbados, which is in the Atlantic trade winds, the currents and winds only come from one direction, generally the east. And so it's going to be a really long swim for me in the beginning of the swim, just about some 14 hours against the current. And then to try to get around to the east side of the island. So it's a very complicated swim. And I'm really looking forward to it. I'm currently preparing now. The window is going to start this weekend. And currently while this is being played, I'm going to be preparing for the window to start. And I'm really looking forward to that. So I think just in finalizing, I just want to thank Steve Manitonis for creating the Ocean 7. It's been an amazing journey for me, and I really thank you for popularizing it and getting so many people involved in the sport through it. I also like to thank the audience members for listening to my speech. Again, apologies I can't be there. Thanks everybody.